Hi there, Pat Croce here, and thank you for joining us for the American Cancer Society's Healed Community Gathering. Healed, health and energy through active living every day. No days off. We want you active each and every day. I want to thank our presenting sponsor, 6ABC, because they take this hour-long telecast and they stream it on their platforms. So thank you, 6ABC. I'd like to thank our leadership partners, those 30 individuals who ponied up and helped me to raise $2 million. And last but not least, each and every one of you who've went to our website, acshealed.com, I almost forgot it, acshealed.com, and made a donation, any amount of donation. And in return, as a gift, we give you this healed bracelet with our one green bead that represents harmony, healing, and unity. We're all in this together as one. Once again, thank you. We start each gathering with a simple moment of stillness. I do that by ringing this little bell, and I ask you just to rest your attention. If you like, you can close your eyes and rest your attention on the sound of this bell. Now, you might ask, why, Pat Croce, do you give me this moment of stillness as a gift? Because it reinforces that when you are still, when you are in the now, with all of your attention just placed on that sound, you're not worrying, you're not stressing, you're not resenting, you're not regretting, you're not frustrated, you're not angry. In short, you're not suffering. And that is our intention here at Healed, is to educate you, inform you, inspire you, and help you to not suffer, whether you're a cancer-related patient, a caregiver, or a family member, or a friend of someone who was diagnosed with cancer. You can only suffer when you're not in the now. Pain is inevitable, suffering is optional. That's a Buddha quote. And so we bring you into the now. For the next hour, we have two wonderful guests that you will enjoy. And I almost guarantee that you will be able to utilize something that they provide as a moment of inspiration, like a ping, an aha moment, as Oprah would call it, whether it's body, mind, or spirit, guaranteed. And my first guest is a regular on our Healed gatherings. This is Dr. Jeannie Subach. She's a professor of nutrition at Westchester University in Westchester, Pennsylvania. Come on, Jeannie.
Hey, Pat.
She's my girl. I can call her Jeannie because Jeannie and I go way back, over 30 years. She was a patient of mine when I was a physical therapist. And then when I went to work with the Philadelphia Flyers as their physical conditioning coach in 1980, she came on as the sports nutritionist. And then when I was with the Sixers in 84, whenever it was, he came on with the 76ers. And then when I ran the Sixers, she was on. And then when I left them all, she stayed on. Yep. So Jeannie, we love having Jeannie on every month. It's rave reviews, all kinds of questions. And at the end of this telecast, so maybe the last 10, 15 minutes, we will have our director of Healed on, Diana Haight, who may have any questions that you want to present to our audience, to our guests. And Jeannie comes on with a variety of topics. Now, Jeannie, what is our topic for today?
So, Pat, it is March 2nd, and March in the dietitian world, we get a little excited. It's National Nutrition Month.
Oh,
so
good.
It's also, it's National Nutrition Month, and we're going to celebrate a world of flavor. So that's the theme for the month. You might not know it's also Frozen Food Month.
Now, who excuse me, who announced it's frozen food? Like, who made that up?
The industry. But you know what? But it's a good thing, because do you remember, like, we talk about the dietary guidelines and we talk about all foods can fit, all forms, and are fresh, are frozen, are canned, and are dried. So it's pretty appropriate that March is National Nutrition Month, but also Frozen Food Month, because there's a lot of great frozen foods that are nutrient dense. You know, my blueberries that I have are frozen. They're frozen vegetables at this time of the year. So it's not a bad thing that it's National Frozen Food Month.
So before you go on to the world of flavors, does a frozen food lose any of its nutrients?
No, if it's frozen correctly, and actually that's a good question. Years ago, I was a spokesperson for Green Giant when they had their Peak of Perfection campaign. And what we learned is that they have this technology that they go out into the fields, they harvest the vegetables at the peak of perfection, and then they flash freeze them so that the nutrients are actually intact. And in many times, and especially at this time of the year, your frozen vegetables are as good, if not better, from a nutrient composition than your fresh vegetables.
Why is that?
Well, because they pick it and they freeze it. So they flash freeze it. So they're taking everything and they're just sealing it in. Whereas right now, if you're buying your vegetables from, across the country or a different country or across the country, by the time it's picked, transported, and gets to your table, it can be a long time. Whereas these are just picked, frozen, and the nutrients are just sealed in.
Oh, that makes sense.
Yeah.
I didn't know that.
Yeah.
Always learn something from Dr. Jeannie Subach. Always. And the energy just flows through this screen. So world of flavors. What exactly is the world of flavors?
So we know that, our country is changing on a daily basis, and we have so many different cultures that are coming to our country, and they bring with it such a wealth of nutrient density. The days of 20 years ago, did anybody eat hummus? No. 30 years ago, did you eat a taco? No. Indian food, Mexican food, we didn't eat these types of foods. But now that our population is so diverse, we have to embrace these cultures, and we have to embrace the wonderful foods that they bring to our table. So what I'd like to do today, Pat, is I would like to focus on 4 different types of cultures and diets and the nutrient properties that they bring and how we can include it into our everyday diet, plus how they can be cancer preventing, or if we are a survivor, help us with our recovery. You ready to go?
Beautiful. Yeah, go on. Bring it on.
All right. What is your heritage, Pasquale?
Pasquale Croce, Italian from my father, Irish from my mother. I say I'm a volatile mix of Gaelic and garlic.
Oh, okay. All right. So garlic, you just said the magic word. Okay. We all know about the Mediterranean diet and the properties of the Mediterranean heart. It's the heart healthy diet. It's a diet that's rich in, wait for it, fruits, vegetables. That's my theme, plant-based, right? It's rich in nuts and seeds, little bit of meat. And for the viewers that are just coming here, I'm all about plant-based nutrition. But my definition of plant-based nutrition is a diet that has mainly fruits and vegetables and whole grains and can include small amounts of animal protein. But the emphasis is on small. So all the foods can fit. With the Mediterranean diet, it is rich in fruits and vegetables, nuts and seeds, the fishes, specifically the fatty fishes like the salmon, and then olive oil, but in small quantities, and a lot of seasonings and spices. The big one is garlic. So if you look at garlic, and if you go onto mayoclinic.org, they have a good explanation about this, but we know that garlic increases the flexibility of our blood vessels. So the blood can flow more freely, and it helps decrease the hardening of the arteries. Okay, so garlic is wonderful for that. We also know that the fruits and the vegetables have the antioxidants, and antioxidants are the nutrients in foods that protect our cells. And I think last month I talked about, I gave the analogy, if you take an apple and you cut it in half and you come back in a couple hours, it's brown. But if you take that same apple and you put a little bit of lemon juice or orange juice in it, vitamin C, an antioxidant, it prevents the browning. So translate that to our cells. Okay, we have oxidation happening all the time, and that's natural. But if we eat a diet that's high in antioxidants, vitamin A, vitamin C, vitamin E, selenium, coming from fruits and vegetables, think of it as protecting your cells and possibly preventing the malformation, the cancer cells. Very basic, very simplistic explanation, but it makes sense, doesn't it?
Oh, it paints a great picture.
Okay, so the Mediterranean diet, high in fruits and vegetables, also very high in the garlic, which has heart, it has positive heart properties. Then also the olive oil. The olive oil is a monounsaturated fat, which helps lower our blood cholesterol, which is a good thing. Okay, so that's the Mediterranean. Can't go wrong with that. But I do want to caution you, when you start eating the nuts, nuts are good, but nuts are what we call energy dense. They have a lot of calories for a small amount of weight, but they're also nutrient dense. But a quarter cup of nuts is about 160 calories. So if you are adding this to your diet, that's fine, but you have to make sure that you have the room for those calories, and that's where the physical activity comes in to play. And Healed is all about active living every day, right?
That's it. Jeannie, those nuts, that to me is one of the greatest, for me personally, is one of the greatest snacks that I have around 10 o'clock is a handful of nuts. Now, it might be a little less than a quarter cup because I love the high quality of protein. Yes. And you drink that with a full 8-ounce glass of water, and you feel fuller for longer, and you're not going to snack on a croissant or a cinnamon bun or something. It's just a great snack.
Yes. And peanut butter is okay too, Pat. You know,
I'm a peanut butter junkie. I love peanut butter.
Peanut butter, a little tip, I do want you to get the ones that doesn't have any added sugar. So the natural peanut butter, you can find them in all the major supermarkets. They're not really expensive. A good snack, and this goes into the Mediterranean diet as well. How about a nice date? Dates and your dried fruit. A date and a smear of peanut butter, it's a winner.
See, I've never tried that, but a smear of peanut butter on a slice of apple, yes.
Yes, try it on a date. It's a game changer.
Okay, you got it.
Okay, all right, so we did the Mediterranean.
Wait, before you leave the Mediterranean, now we're not talking about the elephant in the room. How about the pasta? You know, doesn't the Mediterranean have a lot of pasta and spaghetti and raviolis and all that?
Well, it has it, but I mean, Pat, I've been to Italy 9 times. You go to Italy, you get pasta, but you don't get huge portions. Yes, they will offer you more, but that first portion, and you always have a salad. You always have, think of your meals. We're talking about Italy. We're not talking about the way that we've Americanized it.
Okay, good. Well, that's important. No, see, this is important because people are taking your word as gospel, so they're going to eat the American version of the Mediterranean diet. So I want to make sure that you point out that that does not include a bowl of pasta.
It does not include an enormous bowl of pasta. Can it include a small amount of pasta?
Good.
Absolutely. Do I want you to do whole wheat pasta rather than white pasta? My dietitian in me says yes. My food person in me says I don't really love whole wheat pasta when I'm making my mom's spaghetti sauce.
Hey, Jeannie, Diane found a great gluten-free pasta.
Okay.
Like a really good one. You can get them at an Italian market. It's really like, you wouldn't even know.
So it's just trial and error. So to talk about what Pat's saying, we're talking about the true Mediterranean diet with the focus on the fruits and the vegetables, the whole grains, the nuts and the seeds. A little bit of pasta, that's fine, but the vegetables should be predominant on the plate, the pasta a little bit side. Okay?
Thank you.
Great. All right, next one. We are going to talk about our Mexican, Creole, and Cajun foods. All right? When you think about that, what do you think about?
Spice.
We think about our chili peppers, right? Okay, we think about our chili peppers, and that's the capsaicins in it. And what they do is they kind of decrease the pain signals to your brain. So it actually can kind of decrease the sensation of the pain. I'm not saying it puts the pain away, but it decreases the sensation of it. It also can lower the incidence of the H. pylori, that H. pylori, the bacteria, and it decreases the stomach acid. So wonderful things with that. And we think, oh my gosh, I'm going to eat the peppers. It's going to aggravate my ulcer. It actually decreases the bacteria. So it can be very helpful. Of course, if you are in an acute flare-up of anything, you don't want to do the spices. You want to rest them out. But we can use our chili peppers, and that is very good. We also know that when you add spices to food, you're not putting as much salt in, and we all want to watch the sodium content in our diet. But it also, it makes you eat less because you're really enjoying those food flavors. So we definitely want to do a lot of our peppers and our spices. Okay. How about our Asian food? What do you think I'm going to talk about in Asian food?
MSG.
Okay. Well, we do have the MSG, and that does give you the umami, that savory. We want to stay away from that. But when you go to our Asian restaurants, vegetables, right? They're all about the vegetables.
Totally.
All about the vegetables. So you just have to know how to order, maybe sauces on the side. But the one key ingredient is what? Ginger. All right. And we know that ginger does help with nausea. And we know that a lot of our cancer survivors, people going through chemo, that's one of the main ill effects is the nausea that they have. So if you can do a ginger tea, I have a lot of different teas with me, but a ginger tea is wonderful. You can do, the ground ginger, but one of my favorites, and this is double dipping, is turmeric. I love my golden milk. Okay, the turmeric is wonderful, and this has the ginger in it. It has the turmeric in it, and this aids in our inflammation. So that's
so Dr. Suebach, what exactly is turmeric?
It's a spice. It's a curcumin. Okay, it's the curcumin. It's the anti-inflammatory. They actually sell pills that you can take, but we don't really know the efficacy of the pills. A lot of our athletes do take it, but you want to make sure that it's a pharmaceutical grade, and that's not often available in the public. But if you can do something like the ginger in a little bit of almond milk with some cinnamon, with some spice, with some turmeric, that is going to aid in your inflammation. Okay.
Okay. So far we've come around the world with you, from garlic to capsaicin to ginger, adding a little turmeric in there. Keep going. Okay. I feel like I'm in the Epcot.
Where are we? Okay. So we did our Mediterranean, we did our Mexico, we did our Asian, our Indian. Okay. The Indian diet, they're the largest population of plant-based eaters, lowest amount of meat eaters, and they use a lot of wonderful spices. So the turmeric, the curry, they add the depth to this dish, but they're all plant-based, and that's going back to our plant-based. We know that these spices decrease the inflammation and they make us feel better. So let me go back to my ginger. I'm not a smoothie fan. We talk about that. I'm a green drink fan because the green drink has the dark green leafy vegetables, but I have a fantastic one, which is a ginger smoothie pina colada.
Whoa, wait. You're talking about a smoothie now.
It's a smoothie, but it's a green drink.
Okay, go ahead. So give us the ingredients.
Okay, the ingredients is frozen pineapple, frozen food month, and then it has kale or spinach. It has the ginger in it. It has a little bit of coconut milk. It has a little bit of water in it. And then, of course, it has the banana. So we have potassium from the banana. We have the vitamin C from the pineapple. We have the medicinal properties of the ginger. We have the folic acid, the folate from the kale. And then we have the potassium and the carbohydrate from the banana. So,
and what do you call that drink?
A ginger smoothie pina colada. So, you can call it whatever you want. So.
You're funny.
So, and you can put a little bit of collagen protein in it. So if you want to put a little collagen powder in it to give it a little bit of protein, because that smoothie per se doesn't have the protein in it. Yeah, that's a little bit, but not a lot. Yeah.
So Jeannie, what kind of additives or spices should we be aware of?
Well, the sodium, I mean, we eat so much sodium and it's in that processed foods. And I think we just kind of put it in without tasting it. Remember when you're cooking with spices, you want to put the whole spice in at the beginning of the cooking so that it can break down. And then you want to put the dried spices at the end of the cooking. With your salt, you really want to wait until the end to put the salt, and then you want to salt to taste. Because when you put the salt in, you can't take it out, but you can always put a little bit more in. So I love my pepper. I love my thyme, and thyme has some antibacterial properties. There's a lot of research on people with strep throat, and they just do the thyme, and that actually helps alleviating the reoccurrence of strep throat. So you can do that. But Pat, always, always, always check with your pharmacist and your doctor before using the herbal supplements or a lot of the spices, because there are some drug interactions. So I have to give that disclaimer. Okay.
Wonderful.
So so we just went around the world, and it's Ash Wednesday, right? A lot of people are fasting. Let's talk a little bit about fasting.
Go ahead.
So what do you think about fasting? I'm going to ask you. What do you think about fasting?
If it floats your boat, fine. I don't. I'm a 3 meal a day guy. I don't eat a lot. I don't eat between meals. I will have a snack at the peanuts or
Yes.
a slice of an apple or carrots, but I'm not a faster because I work out so much that I can't even go without breakfast. I can't go without any meal. I just feel drained. I love the high energy that you and I demonstrate because every 4 or 5 hours I have to eat. But I eat very healthy. I don't rarely sugars. I don't eat processed food at all. So you know what? People who are fasting, it may be beneficial. I know there's research that demonstrates that it helps mostly for those who want to lose weight, but that was my answer.
Well, it mostly, so I'm with you. I'm not a faster. I don't do it. Today is, it's a holy day. So I am fasting, and I know a lot of religions practice fasting at different times of the day. I just want to caution people that are fasting and restricting their meals, and then all of a sudden they break that fast and they go hog wild. That's no good. That's no good. But there is some research that for people with diabetes, for type 2 diabetes, people with pre-diabetes, that an occasional fast does help with regulating your blood sugar. But again, you want to seek out that registered dietitian. Even better, the certified diabetic educator that can walk you through these programs and teach you how to do it properly. But if you are physically active and you're eating healthy foods on a regular basis, I'm with you, Pat. We need to eat at least 3 meals a day and make sure that our snacks in between are nutrient dense and are going to work for the body.
Jeannie, one other thing I like to add, if you're going to talk about fasting, then fast after dinner. Don't eat late at night. Then consider that as fasting, because that is really just caloric input put right on you.
And when you think about it, Pat, do you remember the old 10 commandments that we used to have? And with our executive fitness program, that was one of the rules, that you didn't eat after dinner. And in essence, if you finish your dinner meal at 6:30 at night and you eat your breakfast at 7 o'clock in the morning, that is a fast. And you're giving your body a break. You are letting your digestive system, you're letting your GI tract rest and repair. So I guess, in talking about it, I just want to warn people that yes, it can be beneficial if done properly, but we never want to restrict our food, and we want to nourish and fuel our body.
And you're so correct about your plant-based diet, is that because that helps with the regularity of your system. And then that's a better means of fasting than fasting, because give your body what it needs and let it do its thing. It's magical, mystical. It will be all right if you don't overload it.
Absolutely. We all need rest. And you don't think that your GI tract needs rest as well?
Oh, that's well said.
We know that.
Okay, Jeannie, go over to the side and have one of your green drinks, and I'm going to bring you back in a little while. She is, by the way, Jeannie, why don't you show everyone your nutrition
Oh, yes.
Yes,
So
University.
we are so fortunate, Pat. We have this wonderful, new state-of-the-art lab. I'm going the wrong way, but we have a state-of-the-art lab in the new College and Engineer Center at Westchester University. So we thank you so much, and we're going to do wonderful things with our students. And we're going to talk a little bit about later, because we are having a plant-based nutrition seminar on Wednesday, March 23rd, in conjunction with the Chester County Hospital. So I, along with my colleague, Dr. Patricia Davidson, will be in this lab, and we're going to talk all about plant-based nutrition, and then we're going to come in the lab and make hands-on. I won't give it away, but it has to do with cauliflower rice burritos, lots of spices in there. So if you are interested, it is limited because we only have enough for about 25 people. So you can check out the College of Health Sciences for more information.
Thank you, Dr. Jeannie Subach. Thank you, Jeannie.
Thanks.
Now our next guest is one of our surviving warresses. I call them, they're goddesses. They're warrior goddesses who have taken on cancer diagnosis head on, and through their own means, courage and stick-to-itiveness, have come out the other side transformed and helping to transform others. Our guest today is Jan White. Come on, Jan.
Hi, Pat. How are you today?
Doing great, and thank you for joining us today.
It is
Everyone speaks so highly of you, Jan, because I know you have tentacles in the American Cancer Society, in addition to your journey through the cancer diagnosis, which I would hope that you would start sharing your journey with us.
Of course. Thank you so much. We had been living the American dream. I married my college sweetheart, Michael. We have an awesome son, Ethan. Mike and I work together doing business meetings and special events. We run a successful small business for more than 25 years.
And what's it called?
Meetings by Design. We do business meetings and special events. I love being active, and I studied martial arts. And in April 2015, was accorded the honor of achieving a 3rd-degree black belt in Kenpo karate.
Wow, congratulations.
Thank you. But just 1 year later, almost to the day, in April 2016, our lives were forever changed when I was diagnosed with aggressive stage 4 non-Hodgkin's lymphoma that had invaded my neck, chest, lung, armpit, and spine. I went from studying for my 4th-degree black belt and working with Mike to needing a walker.
Oh, so Jan, let's take us back to that moment when you knew something wasn't right before the diagnosis.
Before the diagnosis, we chased pain, forever increasing pain, for about 3 months. The thing that finally brought it to a head was one night I coughed, and it was lightning bolts down my legs, and suddenly my legs weren't working right. That gets everybody moving in a very big hurry. We did scans. Everybody kept saying, okay, there's multiple tumors, big, nasty, invasive, but we're almost sure it's benign. I owe my life to a lot of people, but one in particular who I had to hunt down to send a thank you note to was a radiologist, raised a 3% chance of lymphoma. Originally, they were going to biopsy me on the table. The neurosurgeon looked at me and said, okay, I didn't think of that. I appreciate the candor. We need to biopsy you now. And 5 days later, the phone call was, it's cancer. Be in this office in 1 hour. Pack a bag. You are not going home. You're being admitted directly to the hospital from the office. We have to begin chemo today. We have to try to save your spinal cord and your life.
Whoa. So that's where it planted, in your spinal cord initially?
We think that was the primary tumor, but basically, as my husband said the first night in the hospital, for just once in your life, could you not have overachieved? Which is a fair point. We did almost 6 months of intense chemo. And by intense, I mean every 3 weeks, I did 96 continuous hours of chemo.
Oh.
Hook me up Monday morning, disconnect me Friday afternoon. When that was done, we did a high dose, high risk inpatient chemo. And when that was done, almost a month of radiation. But I'm here and I'm darn well planning on staying here.
So the prognosis as we speak, Jan.
I'm in remission. The prognosis at the time, the doctors did not tell me for about a year, which I now respect. It wasn't until about a year after I finished treatment, I was complaining to my docs about what I perceived to be my lack of speed of recovery. I still do physical therapy today. And he looked me square in the eye and said, I will now tell you what I did not tell you the first day. Your file was dropped on my desk at 8:30 in the morning. By 8:45, the partners met about you. And by 9 o'clock, we were on the phone with the words I mentioned earlier. The assessment was I was 7 to 10 days from being completely paralyzed and 3 weeks from dying.
Whoa.
That of his career, I was his full-blown emergency. But I'm here.
But you're here.
And coming out of treatment, we call it the adventure. I wanted to give it meaning, to give it purpose. And I could think of no better way than by raising my voice to honor my doctors, my nurses, my physical therapists, my family, my friends, to make a difference.
So tell us about raising your voice. What does that mean?
That means I work with American Cancer Society Cancer Action Network as a legislative patient advocate. We meet with various legislators and discuss legislation like tobacco control, like palliative care, like cancer research and funding, and explain why a bill is important to cancer patients and their families. Let's be candid. My story is dramatic, for better or worse. It's not necessarily the story I wanted, but I discovered I could get legislators' attention. So let's use it. If that has to be the story, let's use it.
Let's stay with this voice of using your first-person experience as a means of changing legislation. What would you like to see changed right now?
Right now, I want palliative care passed. I want the funding to be restored for National Institute of Health and National Cancer Institute as we're working through all the budgetary challenges in Congress. When those budgetary challenges happen, funding in some cases stop. I'm alive because of research. Other families need this desperately now.
Now, you're alive because of research. Do you feel that your aliveness, this energy that you're showing right now, has anything to do with all that health and energy that you brought to your diagnosis? Can you share with us your training in Kempo, Japanese karate, for all those years, earning a 4th degree? For those who are new with us, a 4th degree black belt is a massive.
I appreciate the honor, but 3rd.
Well, congratulations on the 3rd. To get that takes many years of intense practice.
Yes.
And the body has to acclimate to it. So bringing this practice, this Asian practice, into now a diagnosis where your body is on a whole different treadmill, how would you say your health and energy prior to the diagnosis helped in your healing?
I can say quite candidly that I believe that if I had not been intensely active and eating well, I probably would not have survived. I now understand how chemo can kill you. There were weeks where I was just a dish rag on the couch, despite trying to eat well, but going into it fit, going into it with a relatively good diet, but also to be able to find my center, to go to that quiet place that you start with when life was really hard, when it was really painful or really frustrating, or quite frankly, really scary, to find that center and move from there.
So you're covering all components of healed, the body, the health, the spirit. How did you get to the center? What was your means, your technique, your practice to bring you to the center when you're in the middle of pain?
Closing my eyes and visualizing was really good for me. And not necessarily even when you're in pain, believe me, or at least for me, when you're lying in a PET scan tube or an MRI tube and all you can think is, oh, please. For me, visualization, I would take myself to Tahiti, or I would take myself on a place camping with my family, a place of serenity in the middle of all the chaos.
And you're an advocate with the American Cancer Society's Cancer Action Network. Who helped you?
Who helped? Who didn't help me? Probably the biggest hero in this for me is my husband. He shouldered me, our business, our son, our home, the medical. I didn't drive for 7 months because my legs didn't work right. In Delaware, that's paralyzing.
Now, this is important because the caregiver, most people shoo the caregiver, and you're giving this prompts and praise to your caregiver.
I think the caregivers actually have the harder road. They shoulder it all, and they watch us desperately wanted to just put their arms around us and make us better, and they can't. All they can do is be there, but that means everything. I had a hard road. I think he had the worst road.
And you said your inability to walk, you were almost paralyzed. How about now?
I walk, I hike with hiking poles.
Wow.
I Zumba. The hikes are much shorter and much easier than before. I modify a lot of things, but you can't tell if you just glance at me. And that took a lot of hard work with my physical therapists and me. I mean, also, I think I'm stubborn. Some of the doctors told me that a year from the end of treatment, what you have is what you get. And I got to the year of end of treatment and they're like, well, you're still advancing. I'm like, yep. And I got to 2 years of end of treatment and they're like, you're still advancing. Yup. And I still advance now. It might be glacial, but I'm still waking up nerve endings that were damaged. There are times where I can actually feel something engage that I haven't felt in years.
Preach it, girl. Preach it. So what would you say to our community right now that are watching this when they're sitting on the couch feeling sorry for themselves?
Oh, don't get me wrong. I have those moments, but then it's a matter of getting up. What do you want? I love and respect my doctors, but they know medicine. I know my body and I know me. And I have to advocate for that sometimes. I had one doctor tell me I deal with chronic pain. I haven't been out of pain in almost 6 years. And they were like, well, you're just super active. You need to back off. No, I didn't go. I'm not running marathons. B, I didn't go through all of that and drag my family through that to sit on the couch. So find another answer. You have to advocate for yourself. And I've had docs say to me, you're arguing with me. Yup. And candidly, they can't admire the fight in me that kept me alive and then be annoyed with me about it in survivorship. You don't get it both ways.
If anything, they should be taking notes.
I am of the opinion when you tell me, I have been told to my face, according to the rules, you shouldn't be able to do what you're doing. Well, my opinion then is rewrite the rule book.
Love this warrioress attitude. So physicality is one of your secrets. Centering, mental centering is another one. How about, since we have Dr. Jeannie Subach on, the nutritionist, how about nutrition? How did that help not only the treatment plan, but also your recovery over the past 5 years?
I think nutrition is really important. I think I ate well before. I think I eat better, even better now. But even during the adventure, it's finding, there's your taste buds are gone, or mine were gone in about 5 days. And then not only nutrition becomes important, but texture becomes important. Smells become important because everything otherwise is heightened. There were some things I, quote, loved that I couldn't even bear to look at during the adventure. And there's some residuals now. I used to love hot peppers, spicy food. She was talking earlier about the health properties of those, which I agree with. I used to grow habaneros, but I can't handle them now. So it's a matter of finding where are those new levels and what works for you.
And not comparing to what was.
Not comparing to what was, and that can be very hard some days. There are days I love what we call Jan 2.0, but there are times where I really miss facets of Jan 1.0.
Oh, that's so well said. That's really good. So what do you love most about Jan 2.0?
I discovered my voice. And I discovered I am graced with so many wonderful people in my life.
Let's stay with the voice before we bring Dr. Jeannie Subach's voice back to the show. Your voice, in which way has that helped you finding your voice? We know what you want to do with that voice.
Sure. The first time I walked up Capitol Hill to do in-person advocating in Washington, D.C. was the first time I felt empowered over this beast. It was an amazing moment for me.
What did it feel like?
That a situation that you're literally out of control of almost every facet of your life, that this one part in making a difference, I could take back some control, and I could take something that really hard and do something with it.
So you were like Rocky running the museum steps. You're running the Capitol steps.
I wouldn't necessarily equate to Rocky, but yeah, relatively.
Why not? Why not? For you, that was a victory. You said it's the first time.
Huge victory. Yeah.
Control. No, I think it's wonderful. Wonderful for sharing your experience like that. Stay right here. Come on, Dr. Jeannie Subach, come on back. Jeannie, how about that story?
Oh, amazing. And the fact that you put your husband's pain above your own. Like, that's.
When I had a look in his eyes, he never wavered. There were moments I absolutely wavered. I look in his eyes, he never, ever wavered.
So, Jan, do you have any questions for Dr. Jeannie Subach as we speak?
When I talked about before, I want to, there's some things that I loved, Gen 1.0 loved, that seem to have vanished. Any way to get those back?
I maybe small quantities, I mean, that's the only, I don't have an answer for you, but maybe just enjoy it for the aroma,
right?
Smelling it, things like that. I wish I had an answer.
It's all good. It's all good, but I really appreciate what you were saying before with turmeric and ginger. You're singing my song, garlic in this house.
Oh,
it's a food.
The golden milk. I didn't. Did you ever do golden milk?
I have not seen that. I'm going to have to get some of that, and I need the recipe to the smoothie.
I will. We can do that. This is so amazing. At nighttime, and I use unsweetened almond milk. Just kind of takes the edge off. It kind of brings you down a little bit, and it's nice. Wonderful. So you can try this. This is a mix, but I make my own. I was given this as a gift for Christmas, but I make my own. It's a quarter teaspoon of the turmeric, a quarter teaspoon of ginger, a quarter teaspoon of cinnamon, and then you can put 1 teaspoon of pure maple syrup in it. And it just gives it lovely.
You use almond milk or coconut milk, or
you can use anything that you want. I use the unsweetened coconut milk. I'm sorry, unsweetened almond milk, because it's less in calories. And as we said, you don't want to eat a lot at night, but 40 calories as a evening beverage is wonderful. But I'm a huge tea person too. I drink a lot of tea in the evenings. The chamomile tea is so wonderful. The echinacea tea is fantastic. The hibiscus tea is so good, and that actually can, studies have shown that it can help reduce your blood pressure. So good thinking.
So let me also bring on our director, Diana. Hey, there's Diana. Hi, Diana. Diana, do you have any questions for Dr. Jeannie Subach or Jan White?
I do. I have questions for both of them. So my first one is for Dr. Subach. We talked about pasta, right? And said, limit it, a little bit's fine. What about, you were talking about Asian food and the Asian cuisine. What about rice? Because that's a big part of a lot of Asian dishes, and people really enjoy rice. What are your thoughts about rice?
So rice is wonderful. It's a wonderful complex carbohydrate. Of course, we would like the brown rice because it is the whole grain. But it's interesting. Come here, Anaya. I'm going to bring in a student here. Here's my Anaya.
Hi. Hello.
So take your mask off. So, okay. Anaya, she's a nutrition major, and we just had a class yesterday, and we had a guest speaker on, and we were talking about food insecurity, and we were talking about cultural competence. And Anaya gave us the example of many people. Yeah, you say many people in your culture. Make it brief.
Yeah, many people in multiple cultures, Asian, Caribbean, whatever. White rice, short grain, gelatinous rice is a big staple. So to ask someone to have to assimilate to something that isn't familiar to them is just not good for their psychological health. So.
Right. So to answer your question, thank you.
You're
To answer your
welcome.
question, it can fit. It's not going to give the fiber, but going back to our people in recovery, if a bowl of white rice is going to be soothing to you and comforting to you, that's fine. If you can pile it up with vegetables, that's even better. I always go back to the vegetables. So again, we're meeting our patients, our clients, our family, and our friends where they are, and we're going to make the adjustments.
And Jeannie, especially in recovery, as Jan was saying, if you're undergoing chemo and you're not getting your caloric intake in it, but if you can tolerate ice and you like rice, do it.
Absolutely.
Mm-hmm.
And then maybe put the good fats on it. So put the avocado on it, put the olive oil on it, put the things that are going to work for you. But again, it's meeting your patients, clients, family, friends where they are and making the adjustments.
Wonderful. Yeah, because I love rice.
Sorry, by the way.
Awesome. Okay, Jan, a question about your work with ACS CAN. What are you finding are the biggest barriers to getting the work done that you're trying to accomplish down at the Capitol?
Interesting question. I think probably one of the things that's been hard through COVID is to get the meetings. We get them virtually,
Mm-hmm.
but then nothing really replaces the in-person. And also, quite frankly, money needed to go to COVID. I totally get that. But I kind of wanted to see it circle back now to the other C, if you don't mind, to cancer.
Right.
But that's my own personal opinion.
Right.
But for Jan, before you leave, I wanted to ask you, I didn't get to ask you about your one-word mantra, onward.
Onward.
Where did that come from and how do you use that word?
That became a mantra during the adventure. The only way, the long version of it is, the only way through is through, so onward. And then the longer we were in the adventure, we talked a little bit about the hard moments, the scary moments, the painful moments. The word was onward. And that's how it became used.
Mm. And I assume you taught people around you to use this mantra when you were feeling onward was a little difficult.
They were, and they still use it now when I'm having a moment, a friend, a family member, whatever. Jan, onward. Yep, onward.
Ding, ding, ding.
Mm-hmm.
Jan, that's incredible. Here at the College of Health Sciences, our dean, Scott Heinrichs, he signs every email with onward, and it goes with our tagline of the College of Health Sciences, be fit, be well, be restored. Because we have many disciplines. We have nursing, we have sports medicine, we have PAs, we have nutrition, we have health. So I love that. I'm going to share with him that's your onward that's his tagline too.
Be fit, be well, be restored.
Yes.
And onward. There you go, ladies and gentlemen. Write those in your journal. They're just good stuff.
Yeah.
Mm.
Yeah.
Okay, Dr. Subach, we talked about Mexican cuisine, which a lot of people really love Mexican food.
Yes.
However, a lot of Mexican food can maybe not be the best health-wise for us. What is your recommendation for some healthy options for Mexican food?
Great points. I'm a bean nut. I love beans. Watch your refried beans, making sure that you're getting either the vegetarian or the fat-free or the ones that don't have lard in them. Okay.
Say that again, Jeannie. Say that again, because most people like Mexican foods because of those refried beans with the lard.
So the refried beans, you want to make sure you get it's marked vegetarian or it is marked fat-free. It does not have lard in them. So you want to do that. Again, the vegetables going on top of it, the sauces are fine. If you can make your fresh salsa or your pico, that's going to be better because your jarred salsas do have a lot of sodium in them. But if you can make your fresh, that would be great. Use the avocado, which is great in place of the sour cream because the sour cream does have the saturated fat. You can be a real nerd and use plain non-fat yogurt instead of the sour cream. I've gotten ridiculed for that, but it does work. Pile on the vegetables. Don't be afraid of the corn tortilla. The corn tortilla is a whole grain. The flour tortilla, not so great, but you can use the whole wheat tortilla. So like last week, it was bean week, and we made a bean burrito, which had pinto beans in it, the refried beans, and we used the whole wheat tortilla, and then we did put the spices in it. So everything we talked about today, we did last week in our lab. And economical. It was very economical. I think it was like $3.59 to make 8 burritos. So you can make them at home.
Jeannie, I have a question relative to that corn tortilla. Is that gluten-free?
Yes.
It
Yes.
is.
Yes. Your corn is the whole grain and it is gluten-free.
But so there's no grain in it other than the corn?
Exactly.
Oh, that's wonderful.
Yes.
Wonderful. Okay, Jan, I have another question for you. We have a lot of folks who watch our program who are cancer survivors and maybe didn't know what ACS CAN was before, or that the American Cancer Society is doing things down in Washington to try to advance laws and legislation to benefit cancer patients. What can the average person do to help in changing and making sure some of the laws really do look out for cancer patients?
First thing you do is contact your legislators, either at the state or the federal level, if there's a particular bill that they're aware of. And I'm happy to chat with anyone who wants to come on board. Making legislators aware of your positions. They do take those emails, the phone calls seriously. They want to hear from their constituents is the very first thing they can do. The next is to support, Relay for Life, Strides, etc., for the fundraising to help enable that research that happens as well on the ACS side.
Wonderful. And anyone who's interested in any of those events that Jan just mentioned, cancer.org, you can get all the information about ACS CAN and ACS events to get involved. And just got to put a little plug out there for that.
Of course.
Okay. So, Jeannie, for spices again, what do you think is the most beneficial spice the average person can include in their diet on an everyday basis for health?
Ooh, that's a hard one. I'd say cinnamon. I like to do the cinnamon. Cinnamon's good for blood glucose control. Plus, it gives a sweetness to food, so you might use less sugar. So I would say that. I'd have to say garlic. I think garlic, because it just gives so much flavor and so much depth to meals. I'm a big thyme person, and we talked about that, the antimicrobial property on that. And then I would have to say pepper. So I just gave you 4.
That's fine. Love it. So the other question I have is, for the different cuisines, everyone knows the standard, what Pat was saying with Mediterranean, Italian, we think of pasta and meatballs and sauce. Where can someone find recipes, healthy recipes for some of the different kinds of cuisines that you would be able to recommend?
So you can go on to eatright.org. So EATRIGHT.org. And that's the Academy of Nutrition and Dietetics. And they do have a recipe link under National Nutrition Month, which gives different recipes for different cuisines. You can go to the Vegetarian Nutrition Resource Group. And I can get these links for our next session, and we can put the links at the bottom of the page. But Vegetarian Resource Nutrition Group, and that will give you a lot of good recipes. There's a lot of local organizations that have recipes, but I would just Google healthy cultural recipes, and then it comes up. But the Vegetarian Nutrition Resource Group is really good.
Wonderful. Awesome. Well, Pat, that's the end of my questions that I have.
Oh, that's beautiful. I have another question for Jan, because Jan, I would like for you to share with all of us, coming from a first person's perspective, a direct experience with a diagnosis of stage 4 non-Hodgkin's lymphoma and all the treatment that you had to go through. What do you recommend, using that voice of yours, to keep them onward? What do you recommend that people can note so that they can take with them, as you as an example, that you've did it, so can they?
And thank you. That's something I say all the time. People's like, well, you're unique. I'm like, I don't think I'm that unique. I don't think I'm that special. More than anything else, there was, how are you so brave? I wasn't ready to die is the brutal answer to that. So you have to remember milestones, target points, goals. You know, we have a huge goal that's going to come the end of May. Our son is getting married, and I get to be here. I get to dance with him at his wedding. Keeping those end targets in mind, those goals for when the road seems like it will never end. And I absolutely had those moments of this road will never end. It does. And there is life on the other side. And it's maybe not the life you had before, but it's pretty darn good.
Beautiful, beautiful. And Dr. Jeannie Subach, in your nutrition lab at Westchester University, one last question, and this is from your personal experience. What is your favorite cuisine?
Ooh.
Oh, it would have to be Italian. It would have to be Italian. I take students abroad. We've gone to Italy 9 times, and we always do, it's a culinary immersion, and we do cooking classes, and we just kind of travel. So I've learned so much from that, and that would be my favorite.
So when you go to Italy, and I've been there several times, it's amazing. You never even get a chance to order the entree. And the salads and the vegetables, everything's coming out already before it. By the time you're going to order an entree, you can't even eat.
Yes. Yeah. And the thing is, Pat, it's the slow food. We went to Slow Food University. It's that slow food movement.
Whoa. This is good. Let's just slow down here, Jeannie. Before we leave this gathering today, take us exactly, what is this? I've never heard you say this, the slow food.
The slow food movement, it means that you pick out your ingredients with care. You prepare them with, as my husband says, made with love. You prepare it with love. You set the table. I mean, we have all these beautiful dishes in our home that never get taken out. You set the table, you present the food, and you eat. You share bread with your family and friends, and you're not worrying about cleaning up the kitchen and going in the other room, and you're just enjoying the whole. It's not processed foods. You know?
Okay, ladies and gentlemen, we just shared with you a meditation in motion while eating, while preparing, while sharing your meals. Jan White, thank you for your courage in joining us today. Dr. Jeannie Subach, as always, we love having you on the ACS Heal Gathering. For all of you, we like to end our gathering with a prayer. I like to call it an attitude of gratitude, and it's a simple prayer. Just thank you for the grace and helping me welcome what is happening right now, bringing you into the present moment. To all of you, thank you for joining us today. Peace.
You guys.
Thank you.
Thanks.